A blessed day to all. I'm Edwin Valles, your host for Be Not Afraid, the podcast where we talk about the journeys of LGBT persons through their Catholic faith. This show is part of the Faith Watch TV family that is produced by the CBCP Media Office to offer everyone a chance to listen to the journeys of ordinary people. So for this particular episode, we've been quarantined since March of last year, since March of 2020 due to COVID-19. So and whenever we talk about the pandemic, we talk about physical health, no? So maraming nagkakasakit, diba? Maraming na-hospitalized. Sadly, some people pass away or move on. And then another aspect of pandemic that is often discussed is mental health, no? So yung paano na ba yung stress, yung fear, yung anxiety. But not a lot of people actually talk about yung spiritual health, no? So which is also an important aspect of a person. So and in particular, paano ba yung spiritual health of LGBT persons during these dark, trying, and anxious times as the pandemic times? No? So we are blessed for this particular episode to have an LGBT person to share about his experiences and also his spiritual health journey during these pandemic times. So join me in welcoming our guest for this episode, si Brother Rico Mortel. Brother Rico, kindly say hi to our viewers.
Hi, good afternoon to all the viewers of Be Not Afraid of this podcast of Brother Edwin. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm glad and excited to have been invited to share my experiences over the lockdown.
Sige. So, siguro, I think it will be good to start off na maybe introducing yourself, di ba? Parang describing yourself, who you were prior to the pandemic, no? So, para magkaroon ng konteksto yung mga viewers natin of who Rico was, di ba? So, prior to the pandemic. So, yeah, maybe you would like to share some more of your background.
Mainly, siguro my professional background. So, my name is Rico Mortel. I own a small events agency. It's a corporate events agency, and Brother Edwin knows the kind of work that we do very well because he used to be with product marketing also.
Yeah.
So as maybe a lot of people or some people know, events management is a very hectic kind of a business. So we always have stuff to do. We always have deadlines to meet. It's always a constant flurry of activity, meetings, rehearsals, events. So that's sort of my life. It's a 24/7 kind of an operation. It never stops. It just keeps going and going and going. Before you know it, we've been in the business for close to 20 years.
Wow.
So parang ganun siya. Sobra siyang hectic, sobra siyang stressful. So I guess that's the kind of life that I have been used to living prior to the pandemic, and I'm sure everyone can imagine how abruptly that was abruptly things changed when the pandemic happened. So
yeah, so siguro summarize ko na two words yung nakuha ko sa iyo, two adjectives: fast-paced and because you're the business owner, no? So I suppose you're the one in charge, no? Tama ba? So
I'm also the creative director of my company.
Okay.
So aside from the administrative and the management part of the business, I also sort of manage the events themselves. So from conceptualization to the actual mounting. So you can imagine the two hats that I wear and how that doubles up the stress and the tension even more.
Yes. Yeah. So as nabanggit nga ni Rico, no, so my professional background is in marketing, no. So we normally I do brand management. No? So normally some of the brands that I used to handle would require mounting of events, no, or consumer events. So normally maghahanap kami ng supplier, events management company to manage all kasi parang maraming nitty-gritty details siya, no, yung pag-manage ng event, no. So and yun din talaga I would describe an effective event supplier na kayang magpatakbo ng complex problems and mabilis, 'di ba? Mabilis kumilos kasi marami dyan sa mga decisions na yan you have to make right then and there, no? So yan. So I think kaya parang siguro yun yung major adjectives to describe Rico, no? Para as the business owner of an events agency. So fast-paced and in charge, no? So and so we can all imagine when the pandemic happened, suddenly parang nag-iba lahat yun, diba? So March 16, diba? Actually, parang a week before, diba, nag-announce na si President Duterte na okay, the whole country will be on lockdown, diba? So ano yung mga naisip mo during the mga first few weeks of this announcement of the lockdown?
Actually, Edwin, prior to the pandemic, remember pumutok din yung Taal nung January of last
January,
year.
yes.
So we actually had an event scheduled in Tagaytay that very week, and then pagputok nung Taal, it was postponed for 2 weeks later, just moved to Manila. So little did I know that parang magiging trend pala siya for the rest of the year. Kala namin after nung pumayapa yung vulkan, back to normal na. Yung pala there was another bigger volcano that was about to erupt. And yun na nga, sinabi mo na that was about March 16. We had several events lined up for, kasi yan first, parang second quarter, going into second quarter. So parang we survived first quarter except for the Taal eruption. Tapos yung pa second quarter na, so syempre and you know how events are, I mean, they are months in the making. Kumbaga hindi naman siya nangyayari in one day. So parang by the time March comes, you already have events being planned for April, May, June, and for the rest of the year. So of course, when that was announced, no one knew how long the lockdown was going to be implemented. So parang internally, we sort of counted, okay, how much resources, how many months can we last a complete shutdown of business, given the resources that we have on hand. So parang ang bilang namin was until December we will be good. So parang so a few months yun na. Pero I guess the biggest impact on me personally was all of a sudden everything was put on hold and everything just completely stopped. All of a sudden I had 24 hours of time that I have to do nothing with. Alam mo yun yung parang sanay na sanay ka na naka-schedule yung buong araw mo from the moment you wake up. Tapos minsan nga parang kulang yung 24 hours. You know that si Edwin yung sa client side siya, so siya yung parang boss namin in this scheme of things. So ganon. Tapos all of a sudden when the lockdown was implemented, you had 24 hours of time. Tapos parang hindi mo alam. I was so lost. I was really, really lost. So aside from the fact that I was worrying about the business, I was also worrying about the people that we work with, our employees. And then we also work with a lot of freelancers. Kasi in our line of work, you cannot only depend on your regular employees. You have to do a lot of work with freelance people. And these are parang our regular freelancers. We have a pool. So as you know, since they're not connected with a company, wala silang monthly salary. So they really subsist on a per project basis. And so yun, I was worrying about that. I was worrying about our employees. And of course, on top of that, the health scare, diba? Yung parang, it wasn't really just an economic shutdown. It's also a medical crisis that we were facing. So ang dami-dami kong iniisip during those days. And for someone who is trained mentally to always be in control, it was such a challenge. It was really such a challenge. Kasi in our line of work, parang you have to anticipate everything that can happen. Parang expect the worst and hope for the best every time. Every time you mount an event,
plan
nothing
A, plan B, plan C.
Nothing runs as smoothly as you planned it. So dapat meron kang backup plan, ano kang tama ka, plan B, plan C, yung ganun. For someone who is trained to think that way, given that situation where you don't know um, how the pandemic will progress or will improve in the next few months, sobrang freaky siya for me. And I, in the beginning, in the early months or in the early weeks, I was having a lot of um, what do you call that? Yung parang panic attacks and all
Languishing.
of that.
Panic attacks, yeah,
Cannot,
okay.
I cannot sleep properly. Um, so it was something like that. And then that was the time when I don't know if I should go already into this. I remembered how because I used to be a seminarian. I was
Okay.
in the minor seminary of the SVD in Christ the King, and I remember that while I was staying there, parang the only way that we were able to like live from day to day is to have a structure
Yeah.
in your day. Yung parang we live by the bell, yung sinasabi namin. Kasi for every hour, every time magre-ring yung bell,
You're supposed
there's
to
a bell
be
to
doing
wake you up,
something.
there's a
Yeah,
bell
yeah.
to take a shower, there's a bell to for you to that tells you to go to the chapel na kasi magmamass na yung ganun. So everything was structured. And I figured that maybe to be able to live through the next few weeks, months, or days, I had to structure my day. So I created the day. Um, Tapos, and of course, based dun sa formula na alam ko, the day always starts with prayer and ends with prayer. Before the pandemic, I didn't have that kind of prayer structure at all. I'm a kind of like a Sunday Catholic. I only like I only become aware of the Lord pag Sunday when I sing in the EDSA shrine, where I
Mm.
serve every week. The rest of the week, I'm just like in the world. I'm just like caught up in my own little bubble of work and deadlines and schedules and all of that. All of a sudden, having been dealt with a situation where you don't have anything to do, parang naging, pero in the beginning talaga, ano lang siya, it was really just a, a technique. Parang it
Correct.
was really just, parang he was really, but the prayer time was really just an item in the schedule.
Correct. Yeah, yeah.
Parang ganun, to fill up the day, parang gano'n.
So,
Um,
from fast-paced life to in control, nung nagka-pandemic, suddenly, super slow pace.
Zero control.
Zero control. And yung experience na yon, yung kumbaga yung reversal of experience was very freaky, no? So that was the word that you used,
Mm-mm.
no? And but then
Mm-mm.
again, somehow meron kang siguro instinct, I don't know. So you were sharing na because you went under formation during your nag-minor seminary ka, 'di ba? So naalala mo yung
Mm-mm.
formation
Mm-mm.
na to put structure, 'di ba? And
Mm-mm.
by instinct then yung structure na yung included prayer. So yung bookends of the day are prayer in the morning, prayer in the evening. But initially as just a way to for you to take charge again, 'di ba? Of the day, 'di ba? To manage the day, no? So kamusta yung mga, so nung ginawa mo yun, yung ginawa mo yung schedule na yun, did you experience, kumbaga less, parang did you perceive things to be less freaky or kumbaga somehow, parang yan, yung anxieties mo are maybe kept in check, di ba? So ano yung
Yes,
ginawa sa yung information na yun, yung
kasi
structuring?
parang ano what that provided for me was something to look forward to. Halimbawa, okay, and then after I do my prayers, I will do a little exercise, and then 1 hour na lang lunch na. Tapos tapos after lunch meron akong 1 hour na siesta. Tapos 2 hours na lang Angelus na, yung mga ganyan. So there was parang umiksi yung araw kasi in the beginning parang ang
Na-breakdown
haba-haba.
siya into
Parang
smaller chunks. Yeah, yeah, sure.
the
Yeah, yeah.
breakdown siya into smaller chunks, and then there are certain parts of the day that I like actually look forward to, like my TV time, my Netflix time, 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours a night. Tapos yun, but I think the best gift that whole thing gave me was parang, kasi because I started the day and ended the day with prayer, parang I, parang I unintentionally knocked on a door. Parang I opened a door to us to a level of spirituality that I thought I was not capable of. Parang hindi ko sinasadya, pero since I was communicating, I guess, with God in the beginning and the end and some parts of the middle of the day, parang inevitable yon. Parang I think that's what prayer does to you. It sort of it opens the connection, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So I felt a little lighter. I felt a little better. I wasn't having my panic attacks anymore. I was sleeping more peacefully. Um, and I felt that I was not alone in the experience. Yung parang nagkaroon ako ng kakampi. There's someone I could, of course, my friends, we would be comparing notes at many parts of the day. Anong nangyayari sa'yo? Anong ginagawa mo? How are you coping? Ganyan, ganyan. But I think that the prayer time, and of course, I also allocated some time for studying of our faith at certain parts of the day. So parang it began, I think it was a YouTube kasi syempre when you're not doing anything, you're always online. So since YouTube is like a library of materials, all you really need to do is select and choose what you want to watch. I came across a YouTube video of Bishop Barron, Robert Barron, who I didn't know from Adam prior to this point. He was a total stranger, but I just listened to what he was saying, and he said very specifically, parang ang challenge niya is to make use of this time to really look deep into what really matters to you. Parang ang sinasabi niya is, let's take advantage of this opportunity to do like a retreat, like retreat from the world and do a lot of thinking about what really and truly matters. So you parang that sort of guided my process nung time na yon. And it opened up a lot of other material na open up ako to Catholic Answers, to this mga very of course, now I know them to be very famous and very well-respected apologists pala. And then, yun, kumbaga, parang a whole new world of truths opened up to me and things that I probably, maybe, most likely intentionally turned away from. Because I knew that some of the truths that I was getting exposed to were the truths that I've always wanted to avoid.
So, wow. Very profound. Pero sige, magba-backtrack muna tayo a bit. Siguro,
go ahead.
I'd like to siguro highlight for our podcast viewers. Siguro ano yung mga groundwork, 'di ba? So, 'yun, yung formation that Rico got dun sa nag-minor seminary siya. So somehow na-inculcate na sa kanya na kapag parang that putting order in the day, beginning with the prayer and ending the day with the prayer, it's a good way to live your day, no? So that's first. Second, na-mention niya na every Sunday, so kahit busy siya sa kanyang work, every Sunday he serves the church, no? So parang sa choir na in one of the parishes, no? So and then siguro yon, kumbaga nandun yung groundwork, 'di ba? Hindi naman siya, even if he's in charge all the time sa business, or even if fast-paced siya, kumbaga hindi malayo yung closeness niya to the church, no? So with all the seeds that were planted beforehand. And when crisis came, 'di ba, when the pandemic crisis came, somehow nag-kick in yung mga groundwork na yon, 'di ba? And eventually palalim na ng palalim from there, 'di ba? So but I think we would like to dedicate one whole episode on that, no? So doon muna tayo, something lighter, 'di ba? So na-mention mo na ang highlight mo of the day is yung parang manood ng YouTube
may
at saka parang may Netflix, 'di ba? So naging uso yung mga, I think marami ako mga friends na hook sa mga Korean telenovelas, 'di ba? So na-hook ka rin ba sa
Mm-mm.
mga
Ay, nako.
K-pop or Korean telenovelas nung during the pandemic? Parang yung na-mention mo kanina, yun yung highlight of the day mo, 'di ba? Yung
Oo, yun. Oo. Yes. Ang tawag dito. Actually, even before the pandemic, parang middle part of 2019, sumikat masyado yung Crash Landing, yung Chloe. Everyone was
okay.
talking about it. All the artistas were posting about it on Facebook. I tried watching it. Parang hindi ako tumagal ng 30 minutes. Or parang first 10 minutes, parang sabi ko, ay, ano to, it's fantasy, it's romance, it doesn't happen in real life. Parang a long time ago kasi parang I turned off my appreciation for ano yung mga rom-coms and all of that kasi feeling ko hindi siya realistic. It's all frou-frou and ano, pa-cute. But since pandemic, I gave it another chance. Parang um,
To find
I
out
might
what's
as
the
well try
fuss,
it because
what's the
yeah,
fuss
what's the
all
fuss
about, di ba?
and
Anyway,
ano ba
may oras
talaga to?
naman ako ngayon.
Oo.
O, sige.
Ang dami naman akong oras, kumbaga
Yeah.
I have all the time in the world to actually sit through it. Tapos ayun, so I tried to watch it again. My gosh, Edwin, na ano, nahook ako. As in, parang, inano ko siya, parang, binge watch ko siya yata for 4 days. The
Gano'n ba, ilang
entire,
episodes yon?
parang
Naalala mo pa?
15?
15 episodes,
Parang
okay.
15, 16. Tapos binge watch ko siya, parang 3 days pa nga yata eh.
Yeah, wow.
And I don't know if it was because of the pressures of the pandemic, but I was like, I rode that roller coaster ride like it was the most exciting ride in the world. Yung parang I let myself go. Kumbaga tinanggal ko lahat ng mga preconceived notions ko about rom-coms, about Asian um telenovelas, yung mga ganyan. Parang I just really like dove into it and enjoyed it, and parang I found myself crying at certain points. Nakakatawa nga kasi minsan bababa ako dun sa lot to have dinner, tapos makikita nung kasama ko sa
Umiiyak
bahay
ka.
na namamaga yung mata ko. tapos ang tawag dyan, tapos sabi ko sa kanya, kailangan panoorin mo rin kasi parang feeling ko parang hindi pwedeng ako lang yung apektado sa bahay na to. Since tayong dalawa lang dito sa unit, I might as well share the feelings with you. But I
What
was
attracted you to
crying
it?
along with it.
Yeah,
I was laughing.
yeah. What attracted you to it?
Alam mo,
Siguro, I mean, looking back, 'di ba? So, syempre, it's a given na kasi nga may pandemic, we want to escape, 'di ba? So, that's one thing. Pero I'm
it,
sure it's deeper than that, no? So, yung attraction
yun
dun
nga
sa
eh, kaya lang actually nung na-connect ko siya to my realization, um, baka maging heavy yung conversation. Kasi doon na yun sa ano eh. Pero of course, it was fresh. It was a fresh take on a love story. Ang peculiar, Edwin, ganito. They were like lovers, but there was no love scene throughout the entire 15. Parang yun yung, it's such an innocent drama. That's all about emotions. Walang intimacy, walang no sexy scenes whatsoever, maybe an innocent kiss or two throughout the 15 episodes, which is very unusual in our time, at least in our experience. Kasi ngayon, kahit sa prime time, even in local TV, di ba? Prime time, or even yung mga afternoon shows, there's a lot of mga risque scenes going around. But in this particular one, I don't know if it's true for all telenovelas. Parang hindi. Kasi I saw other telenovelas. Medyo steamy yung ibang mga K-drama. But this particular one is so innocent. Na parang it
and
really
yet
struck me na parang
powerful.
oo, parang pwede palang to be in a relationship without any physical intimacy. Which is contrary to our experience. I mean, in the LGBT circles, parang, di ba kasama yun eh. parang we have the license and the freedom to just be intimate with even strangers na minsan for a lot of times. But so parang for me, it really struck me as a parang sabi ko siguro after the pandemic, ito yung gusto kong maging relationship. Yung not based on any physical attraction or ano, it was really just like
Intimate
ano nga
connection, no?
napaka-selfless,
Yeah, okay.
napaka-selfless, napaka-giving, napaka-sacrificial. It, I don't know if you watch. Did you ever watch it?
Hindi
Then,
pa. Baka ngayon, after natin mag-usap.
yun. So yun. As a matter of fact, yun yung parang realization ko. Kaya siguro ako na-touch or parang kaya that's the reason why I was moved by the whole drama is parang of course it's not real. I mean, it's all make believe. Pero parang magandang maging peg ng relationship yung ganong selflessness, yung not expecting anything in return. Kasi in my world, everything is done in
Transactional.
exchange for
Correct,
something.
transactional. Yeah.
Parang
Okay.
ganon. And I'm
Sige,
not only
nako.
talking material, di
Yes,
ba?
yes. So, okay. So, magandang pag-usapan natin. Paglalaanan natin ng time yan sa next episode. Ano pa yung mga musings at deeper reflections ni Rico on Chloe?
Sakloy, di
But,
ba?
sa Chloe. And even siguro kasi nabanggit na rin kanina na parang na-introduce siya kay Bishop Baron and all the Catholic apologists. So, we will dedicate our next episode to talk about that. No? So, I hope you will continue watching this and you will also watch yung part 2 of this interview with Rico. So until then, so I'm your host, Edwin Valles of Be Not Afraid. So tandaan lang natin, kahit anumang gulo or takot na pinagdadaanan natin sa pandemic na ngayon, di ba? So kagaya po ng background ko ngayon, let us hear the loving words of Jesus Christ. Be not afraid, it is I. Thank you very much.